ladies and gentlemen, young men and women of NTU, and I think a few from NUS and SMU too. Welcome this evening. We've chosen tonight for this speech, Singapore Progressing Together. I think it's an apt theme. We're approaching our 50th birthday. We've just launched the SG50 movement, which is our effort to celebrate the 50th anniversary of our independence. And it's time for us to take stock of what we've achieved, to honor those who've made it possible for us to be here today, particularly the pioneer generation of Singaporeans, but also to rededicate ourselves to nation building, to invest in our people, in our future, to pass on the torch to the young. And many of you belong to the next generation of torchbearers. I dare say none of you were born 50 years ago, in 1965. But I would also say that most of you will still be here when Singapore turns 100. You think about it. We are about 20 years old now. 50 years from now, you'll be about 70. Well below the average lifespan. If you are lucky, you are still working. If you are lucky, you'll be a grandfather or grandmother. But the next 50 years will be the 50 years, important years in your life. So ask yourself, what will the next 50 years bring? How can we maximize our chances over this next half century so that when our 100th birthday comes, we have good reason to celebrate? And what can I do, each one of us, to make this happen? So, what will the next 50 years bring? Nobody can predict the future, but some trends are clear. First of all, Asia will play a much wider role in international affairs. China and India should continue to develop and carry along the rest of the region, including Singapore. There's one estimate by the Asian Development Bank, by the middle of the century, Asia will be more than half the world's GDP. We may or may not have the most advanced countries in the world, because I think America and Europe will still be among the most advanced economies, and their lead is great and it's not easy to catch up. But the gap between them and Asia will narrow. And I think Asia's influence in the world will grow. Soft power, Gangnam style is one-off. But Asian style, lifestyles, music, dress, fashions, ideas, Korean drama, ilo-ilo, all these in half a century's time. If Asia is successful, people will look to Asia, want to emulate it, and that means influence in the world, standing in the world. So the first thing which I think will happen over the next half century, Asia will rise, and I hope Singapore with it. The second thing which we can say with considerable certainty is that technology will change dramatically in ways nobody can imagine now. I imagine all of you are on Facebook. Many of you will be on Instagram. But half a century from now, I would be amazed if many people still remember what is Facebook or Instagram. Either it will have disappeared, or it will have changed and become something totally unrecognizable. IT, software, robotics will permeate every facet of our lives. Today, we imagine 3D printing as the leading edge. You can print a toy, you can print a little gun, you can maybe print an aeroplane one day. But in half a century's time, I think that's old hat. It'll be as quaint as a cyclo-style machine today. In fact, I'm not sure how many of you have seen cyclo-style machines. Do you know what it is? It's one of those things where you put in a wax and you turn a handle and you print copies of the document. It's what we used before Xerox came along. How many of you have seen it? Hands up. Unfortunately, all sitting in the front row. But that's not the only change in the world. Biomedicine, biomedical sciences will transform our understanding of life, of disease, of the practice of medicine. And it will change and extend human lives. Every year, new understandings, new discoveries, how DNA works, what the pathways are, what can go wrong, which genes connect where, what you can do to engineer, to treat it, to improve it. Huge long-term impact on humankind, on the world, on human societies. Not sure what, but in 50 years' time, it will be a totally different world. And it's not just the technology and the science which will change. I think the social impact of technology and of globalization will also be large. Many jobs, routine jobs, and not just unskilled ones, will disappear and be replaced by new jobs not yet imagined. If your job is to keep on pressing the button over and over again, a machine will come to do that. If your job is to read the same type of X-ray image over and over again, an AI program will be able to do that. If your job is to draft the same sort of legal document over and over again, a computer can also do that. New jobs will come out, which are not imagined. Even today, we see jobs which 10 years ago we did not know would exist. I went to the sand crawler recently. Those of you who are Star Wars fans will know what the sand crawler is. But it's actually also a building here where Lucasfilm has set up their office. And they showed me around, and a young lady explained to me what she was doing. She says, "I'm a compositor." I said, "What is a compositor?" She says, "Well, I take all the different special effects and put them together so that on one image, they all show up and it looks real. And Tom Cruise looks beautiful on every picture." Now, 10 years ago, there was no compositor, certainly not in Singapore. Now it is here. 10 years from now, what are the jobs which will be here? Not even imagined, but you will have to be ready for them. There will be other economic implications. Income distributions likely will widen. The very successful will do very well. The so-so will become ordinary, commoditized. The gaps will widen, worldwide affecting us. It will mean social stresses and strains. It will also mean that when you connect with the internet, on social media, people will be able to organize themselves much more easily in all sorts of different ways. Some good, some bad. And our societies, our hierarchies, our organizations will be flattened. Some of them will be disrupted. We will have to reinvent ourselves anew. All this we can discuss as if we can predict the future, but I think all this depends on one critical assumption, and that is, for the next 50 years, we have peace. We don't have war. In Asia and in the world. The last 50 years have been generally peaceful for the world. And therefore, Asian economies have been able to prosper. Therefore, a whole generation has grown up, in Singapore certainly, who have not known even upheaval, much less war. We hope it will continue for another 50 years. But we are talking about very big changes in the world over the next 50 years. Asia's rise is a very major change to the strategic shape of the world. And it's going to have major repercussions. There will be repercussions on relations between big powers, particularly between America and China. There will be repercussions on the global economy, on jobs, on wages, on opportunities, on competition, on natural resources. There will be repercussions on many global issues, whether it's climate change, whether it's the financial system, or the IMF and the World Bank. So we're talking about a very major change in the way the world will be ordered over the next half century. And historically, these changes have been very difficult to make between the status quo powers and the up-and-coming new powers. The adjustment, the shift in balance, the handing over of responsibilities. Will we be able to do it peacefully? Well, one difference this time is that all the major powers know what went wrong the last time. 100 years ago, World War I began. That was a disaster. Many more wars in the century. Today, all the major powers have nuclear weapons. That restrains them. Today, all the major powers are much more interdependent on one another. You're not talking about somebody with whom you have no relations, but somebody with whom you are trading, investing, exchanging, visitors, scholars, business. The penalty for breaching relations will be much heavier. And everybody wants to avoid a conflict. So that's a positive part, but still, I think it's going to be very challenging. You look at current frictions, whether it's in the South China Sea over maritime rights and islands, whether it's in the East China Sea over the Senkaku or Diaoyu Islands. These are relatively small examples of the problems which will arise. And over the next 50 years, the tectonic shifts which we will see will be much bigger than anything we have experienced so far. So we have to hope that all the countries will manage them peacefully, wisely, and with restraint. Net-net, the odds are the next 50 years will be peaceful. If you ask me to bet, I would bet on peace, but it's not a certainty. So we are in for uncertain but exciting times. Worldwide, young people see opportunities and are going for it and pursuing their dreams. They are flocking to America, Silicon Valley particularly, other tech centers, dreaming of inventing the next big thing, not to become a billionaire, but to change the world. In China, you see the same. Technopreneurs setting up in Beijing, Zhongguancun, in Shanghai, in Shenzhen. Tremendous centers of vibrancy and energy, where people are cross-fertilizing ideas, experimenting, working furiously, sometimes for peanuts, in the hope that one day this will be a great success. In Israel, bright young students study furiously. They enter the Israeli Defense Forces. They work at top-secret cyber projects, some defensive, some believed to be offensive. They come out, they start their business. If you want a good, secure antivirus software, you go there and look for it. You want a powerful virus, you also have some idea where to look. And they go on and they launch IT companies, and many of the companies which are listed on the American stock exchange, NASDAQ, are in fact Israeli startups, done well. So young people around the world feel this energy, this verve, this excitement that the time has come. But at the same time, there are also many people around the world who are feeling angst and uncertainty. They are worried about the economic outlook. They're frustrated because their wages have stagnated. They're demoralized, the young people in some places, because youth unemployment is very high. They can't find jobs. In Europe, this is the case. And they're unhappy about the cost of living. We think in Singapore that we invented the cost of living, but we didn't invent the cost of living. If you look to Malaysia, they had elections last year. One issue was the cost of living. In fact, it's a hot issue right now. Australia, when they had elections, they talked about the cost of living. In Israel, they had demonstrations, not of poor people, but middle-income people. What is the problem? Cost of living. Cannot afford the flat they'd like to buy. Sounds familiar? Similar anxieties. So as a result, we see demonstrations, protests all over the world. In the USA, you have Occupy Wall Street. In Israel, I just told you there were demonstrations. In Turkey, they have had other demonstrations against the government. In South America, in Chile, the students are agitating. They want free university education. In Hong Kong. So, in each country, the circumstances, the causes vary, and yet there are certain common features. People want change, what Mr. Obama called change we can believe in, although you're not quite sure change to what. But let's change. But it's not so hard, not so easy to change, and after you have changed, you're not so easy to feel happy. But it's a certain zeitgeist, there's a mood in the world. And these are things which affect us too. Both perspectives. On the one hand, young people growing up in better circumstances, much better educated, aspiring to high personal goals in their careers, in their interests, in their personal lives, in their lifestyles. On the other hand, also many people worried about job security, cost of living, whether they can do better than their parents. I fully understand these aspirations and also these concerns, but at the same time, let's see them in context. We are a much better place today than the previous generation when they were facing their problems. We are also a much better place today than most other countries when they are facing their problems. Because we've educated our people well, we have a system which works, even though once in a while things go wrong. But generally, I think in Singapore, everything works. We've built up the resources, the reserves to weather the storms, and we have high international standing. So there's no reason to think we can't overcome these challenges and create a brighter future for all. But what can we do together in order to thrive in this bright new world? Some strategies are evergreen. We talk about them year in, year out. We work at them year in, year out. We need to educate our students better, with knowledge and skills for the future, with values and good character to deal with life's uncertainties. We need to create more opportunities for them in a rapidly changing society, which means growth, which means jobs, which means new investments, which means upgrading. And so we want to encourage the bold and the enterprising to go forth, start new businesses, break new ground. We've got one incubator in Singapore. It's called Block 71 Airaja, where companies can go, can set up, and you can plug in. Systems are there to support you, easier to get started. And therefore, with this environment, with this support, we can welcome in new investments and new industries, like Lucasfilm, which I told you just now. But beyond education, beyond opportunities, beyond getting economic growth, I think the most important basic requirement we must have is to stay a united and a cohesive people. In other words, our society must work, our politics must work, and we have to stay one people, feeling like one people, not divided, not fighting with ourselves, not split and at odds with one another. We must have a sense of common purpose to make Singapore better, to leave behind a better Singapore than we inherited, where we feel one with our fellow Singaporeans. So far we've done this, and it's a key reason for our success, and we have to maintain this for the future. Today, we are more cohesive, more integrated. We feel more at one than we did in 1965, when we became independent. But we will continue to feel stresses. We will continue to be vulnerable along fault lines, and we must continue to take care to guard these fault lines and to strengthen ourselves. And I'd like to talk about three of them today. One, race and religion. Two, between the rich and the poor. Three, between the locals and the new arrivals. First, race and religion. This, I think, will always be a sensitive issue in Singapore. We say in our pledge, one people regardless of race, language, and religion. But we are conscious of race, language, and religion, and we have to mind these factors in our social interactions, in our policies, in our day-to-day lives. Whether it's dress or religious symbols, we've been talking about the tudong recently, which concerns the Muslim community. Whether it's the use of languages at countdown events. We had a countdown at Marina Bay, innocent occasion. Everybody singing, dancing, enjoying, welcoming the new year. But an argument arose, was there too much Chinese? What about those who didn't speak Chinese? Language became an issue. It can always happen. We need to get along with one another, living side by side in the same blocks, in the same housing estates, being neighbors with one another, knowing each other's lifestyles, accommodating them. If you cook curry, I enjoy the flavor. If I burn joss sticks, you get it for free. We are living side by side. We have to watch one another. We have to make sure that we accommodate and we are able to get on together. Usually works remarkably well. Once in a while, we have an issue, we have a dispute. We have to make sure that remains a personal dispute, does not become a national problem. So, race and religion is something which we always have to watch. And we've got to take an overall perspective on them instead of looking at each issue in isolation. And let the changes evolve gradually and quietly. And we must not suddenly change things, and especially not have hot debates and then suddenly find ourselves in a new position. Take it easy, let our society evolve. Gradually, we bring people together at a pace which they're comfortable with. And we maintain this spirit of give and take, of being big-hearted, of feeling Singaporeans together. We've made a lot of progress on this. It's something which people who have just come to Singapore, I think perhaps don't realize in full, because it looks just like three different communities living together, but in fact a lot of accommodations have taken place amongst ourselves. And that's the secret to our living happily together. A second fault line which we have to watch out for is a possible fault line between the rich and the poor. We know that incomes are stretching out. Everybody's incomes are rising, but at the top, the incomes are rising faster in many countries because of globalization, because of technology. It's not because we've gone for growth and therefore it's happening. In the countries with no growth, their income distributions are often even worse, because then at the low end you have no hope of improving your life. But with growth, we bring everybody up, even though we can't bring everybody up at the same speed. So when this happens, we must work harder to maintain a sense of shared purpose and of mutual responsibility, that we are Singaporeans together. We feel for one another. We have a responsibility to one another, that we have to help one another. If you are doing well, you have to give a leg up to those who are not doing quite as well, and not treat others with disdain. If you are not doing so well, continue to work hard. There will be help. A helping hand will come. Take it, pull yourself, but keep on making that effort, because that's your responsibility too, to help yourself get better. And we have to keep our society open and informal. What in Mandarin you say, 平起平坐. So you're sitting at the same level, comfortable. You may be different incomes, you may be different jobs and responsibilities. Whether you're the boss or the worker, you sit equal, comfortable with one another, no scraping and bowing, able to interact, feeling that we are Singaporeans together. And I think that is the most important aspect which you must do. If you see some other societies which are more settled, it's not so easy. Maybe people look the same, but somebody has some initials after his name. That means he has some royal descent. Somebody else feels that he has been a peasant for many generations, or maybe a lower caste for many generations. And when they interact, one automatically looks down, the other one automatically looks up. It happens. In Singapore, it doesn't. We've come, we've mingled, we have become evened out. And as our society matures, we must make sure that we stay like that, and we don't import or unconsciously adopt these hierarchies and this scraping and bowing and this stretching out, so that from the top you look down, from the bottom you say, well, that's out of my reach. And that's one of the social divides which we must avoid. The third divide which we have to deal with is between locals and new arrivals. I know that immigration and foreign workers are sensitive issues. We've had big debates about them. We have argued over them. Finally, the conclusion is, well, we continue to need both, but we have to manage the numbers, the pace, and be able to absorb and integrate and maintain the spirit of our society. So we've got to keep that balance and be able to have that diversity between the locals and the new arrivals, and yet that comfort and gradual integration in our society at large, but also in specific key places, including in neighborhoods, including in institutions, including in universities. It's very easy to work up emotions on this. One incident can cause a flare-up, and everybody gets agitated. You've seen it happen every now and again. Some years ago, Sun Xu wrote a blog, one of the universities, I think not this one. But everybody heard about it, got very angry, settled down. Once in a while, somebody else comes along. Recently, there was another case, Anton Casey. Everybody gets worked up again. My philosophy is, yes, this is bad, angry, but keep my blood pressure even. Because we have to maintain a certain equanimity in dealing with these problems and manage them without damaging our overall relationships. And that means we've got to work at it from both sides. The new arrivals, you've got to make the effort to understand this society, understand our local norms, integrate into this society. And the locals, the people who have been here longer or more generations, well, we will help you if you will help and make the effort. And we will welcome you, we should welcome you, if you are prepared to cast in your lot with Singapore. One factor which complicates all of these issues, all of these fault lines, whether it's race and religion, whether it's rich and poor, whether it's locals and foreigners, is the social media. You know Amy Cheong? She was a lady who had a post one day, had a rant, and then all hell let loose. You may have heard of Heather Chua, To the best of my knowledge, Heather Chua is a he, not a she. But he became famous or infamous, and the police are investigating the matter. You've heard about Anton Casey most recently. One issue can cause a spark. And because of social media, it becomes harder to settle such problems quietly, and we risk having an overreaction, we risk having unrestrained, anonymous viciousness on the internet, because it becomes like pack behavior. You scold, you swear, you curse, all the wrong instincts get fed, and in a group, there's certain group dynamic, and it's like a pack of hounds hunting, which is bad. Yes, somebody has done something wrong, repudiate it, condemn it, but do not lower ourselves to that same level to behave in a way which really makes us also ashamed of ourselves, to become abusive, hateful mobs, especially online and anonymously. Yes, the medium conduces to this. You can't help yourself. You're typing away, you get carried away. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. Somebody eggs you on. What do they call it? FTW. And you are cheered on. You put in something else, and soon it's gone too far. I mean, you know this. We have to watch it, and we have to restrain ourselves. Because it's bad for us individually, I think it does us harm collectively too. And we have to be better than that, to deal with situations civilly, patiently, tolerantly. Hold a stand, yes, but remain a civilized human being. That, by the way, is also why we need rules in cyberspace. Manage it with a light touch, but you still need rules, because in human conduct, in human engagement, you must have some basis, what is out of bounds, what we will comply with, what is acceptable and what's not. So, overcoming these fault lines and staying united, I think, is key to us for a better Singapore. We want higher standards of living, especially for lower income people. We want better and more affordable health care, especially for the old. We want relevant lifelong education so that every citizen can develop his talents and fulfill his full potential. And we want a gracious society where Singaporeans of many different backgrounds can live comfortably and harmoniously with one another. We have very high hopes in your generation, because actually, the young generation is what your parents are living for. We want you to pursue your hopes, pursue your passion, aim high, go for your dreams, act on your idealism, change Singapore, change the world, and make this a more vibrant and interesting society, but at the same time maintain our cohesion and harmony. And I'm glad that there are many young Singaporeans who are doing this. In NTU, one young PhD student, Sally Yap, is helping to develop a vaccine for malaria. If it succeeds, that will change the world. We have mass comm students who are starting the Real Reunion to encourage busy families to bond over meals, over Chinese New Year. And they wrote to me and said, how about telling the world about us? So I think that's a good idea. I am telling you about the Real Reunion, some of whom are here today. So I wish you every success with your project. Where are you? There are 2 of you here. Well done. Make sure you get a good reunion out of this. But NUS also has the same. There's one student, Dominic Lim, who co-founded SPLAT. S, capital letters, SPLAT, exclamation mark. SPLAT is a community arts movement for youth at risk and offenders, ex-offenders, to support their rehabilitation and reintegration into society. And so too, many others in our polys, in our ITEs, in our schools. I think our young people have that spark in them, have that drive in them. But we have to feed that spark and fan it and let it burst into flame. But at the same time, beyond pursuing your personal goals, we'd like you to take ownership of this country. Make it work. Lead it to great heights. Not because you happen to be born here, but because it means something important to you. Because you feel that you have a passion and a responsibility to make this place succeed. And we will help you to do that. We're launching the Volunteer Youth Corps, VYC. And we want to involve young people in meaningful projects to help the lives of others. We want to provide you with opportunities beyond your academic work, to instill a strong sense of values, to build character and deepen commitment to Singapore. We're going to start recruiting for the Volunteer Youth Corps soon, so please come and sign up and do something exciting. The future depends on you. It's an exciting time to be young. I know there are some young people who lament that they were born too late, and they wish they were born 50 years ago, and they fear that they'll have a tougher life than their parents. I don't agree with them. I wish I were born 50 years later. Then you are here, you are young, all the opportunities are ahead of you. There's so many things you can do, so many exciting things which you can participate in and help to shape. And you've got the benefit of all the work and commitment and success which the last generation, your parents, have done. And now, not given to you, but entrusted to you to take from there and the next step forward. We have so many more resources today than before. We are starting from so much a better position than we were. It would be a crime not to make it work. So seize the day, chase your dreams, build a better tomorrow and a better Singapore for all of us. Thank you very much.